Hey everybody, welcome back to the Frugal Filmmaker Q&A, the show where you ask me a question and I try to answer it. If you'd like your question read on the show, please send me an email at thefrugalfilmmaker@gmail.com. That's the best chance you have of getting your question read on the show. You can also leave a comment below, or you can send me a message on Twitter at frugalfilmmaker. My last video was called Using Available Lighting. It was a tip show, and it was just some suggestions about what you can do in a situation like this where you're traveling around the road and you're in a motel, in my case, and you just have lights in the room and what you can do to utilize them better. In this situation, I can't really even move the lights around. I have to move the camera around and place myself in a specific place to hopefully get the best out of the lights mentioned. So if you're in a situation like that, or you don't have anything you can bring with you lighting-wise, you might want to check out that video. Now, last week was Trivia Monday, and the challenge there was not really a trivia question. It was more of a kind of hide and seek kind of thing, or a wild goose chase, if you will. And the idea was to find a video that copied my PVC stabilizer rig that gave me credit and had the most views. And the winner was Frankie E. They found a video from Weeksy, who's an Australian guy, that copied my rig and gave me credit in the description, which was a little trickier because most of the mentions of credit were within the video, but this was actually in the description. And that video had 70,000 views. That was the highest viewed video that was copying my rig and gave me credit. So congratulations, Frankie E. Your copy of the Frugal Filmmaker short film idea deck will be in the mail very soon. Our first question comes from the comments on that Using Available Lighting video, and the comment is from YouTuber Caleb Suko, who says, "I'm wondering what you do when you don't have a window with natural sunlight coming in." Well, conveniently, this exact shot that you're seeing right now is basically the same setup, only there's no sunlight coming in. The curtains are drawn, the blackout curtains are drawn, so there's no light coming in because it's dark outside anyway, and I didn't want people to think I was shooting them with this cell phone through the window. So this is what you get. Now, as a result, the key light is now no longer the sun, but now the hanging lamp. And as you can see, the key is filling my face on this side, and there's nothing really to fill it in on this side, so it's rather shaded or rather dark. I would need some kind of bounce or fill light on this side to kind of make it work, and I don't have that, so I get a much more dramatic shadow on this side of my face. So you can kind of see that the rest of the room is laid out in basically the same way. If you look at that previous video, you can kind of compare the two and you can kind of see that everything else is the same except how I look because there's no longer sunlight coming in through the window. Next from email, we have Greg Altenhoffel, who says, "I'm looking to invest in a new camera. What I have been looking at is the Sony 4K camcorder, but I've also been considering a DSLR because of lens changing capabilities. So I'd like to spend about $1,000 or $1,200. Which type of camera would you recommend, and do you have a model you prefer?" Well, this is going to come down, first of all, to the camcorder versus DSLR debate, and mainly how that is solved is what kind of videos are you going to be shooting, what do you need it most for. If you're going to be shooting any long form stuff where you need your camera to record longer than 20 or 30 minutes, you have to get a camcorder because the DSLR is going to overheat. You don't want that, so I would recommend the camcorder. If you need a DSLR, so you can have the interchangeable lens capabilities, which is something I really recommend. I love using vintage lenses on modern cameras because they have all kinds of character and interesting uses, and there's a whole variety of them. You're going to want the DSLR. It's very easy to adapt lenses to mirrorless cameras. So I really like the Sony A7. That's what I would buy if I had $1,000 to spend. Sony A7 has a full frame sensor, which means you get the full focal length out of your lens that you put onto that camera, which is really important to me because I like wide angles, and I can't get the full wide angle out of my lens if I don't have that full frame sensor. I have a Sony NEX5N right now, and it's got an APS-C sensor, which has a 1.5 crop, so I do lose some of my focal length because it crops it 1.5 times. At any rate, I like the Sony A7 for the price. I think that's the best deal, but I'm a fan of Sony cameras, and so I might be biased in that opinion. But again, if you need longer form stuff, get the camcorder. If you can do shorter form stuff or shorter takes, go for the Sony A7. The next two questions come from Twitter from MWP Films, and the first one says, "Can you write an ebook or large paperback about low-budget films?" Or filmmaking, I'm guessing. This has been something I wanted to do for a while. I've wanted to write an ebook, mostly using available stuff I had already, namely like my top 25 DIY projects, and put them in an ebook form. However, I like the idea of expanding into either ebooks. Hard copy printing, I'm not so sure about because it just takes more materials, more resources, and it costs more. I like the idea of ebooks, so that's what I would do first. But I also think it might be a better idea, and maybe you guys can chime in, to do something that's completely original, or not something that I've blogged about before, or not something that I've done already on the channel, like DIY camera rigs, but something that's completely different, like maybe something that starts from A and goes to Z about how to shoot a film, or something like that. I mean, if it's something you'd be interested in, you'd be willing to pay, 99 cents for an ebook, I'd be interested in getting feedback about that to see if that's something you guys would like or would pay for. The next question, also from WMP Film, says, can you tell me what is the best film camera for under $200, and how do you find other filmmakers in your hometown? Well, the second question is one I get asked a lot, and it's something that I'm going to have to experience as I move to a small town here in the near future, where I know for a fact there aren't any other filmmakers, so that'll be kind of a challenge for me. But as far as you, if you're in a town that teaches any kind of a filmmaking class, I would recommend that you take that class, not necessarily to learn anything, which would be good also, but to network with other people that have similar interests, such as making movies. Even if you take something like a film appreciation class or a theater class, or something that is slightly filmmaking related, that might not be your specific expertise, but is any film department that you find on a film set, whether it's production design or costuming or hair and makeup or things like that, acting, you will definitely find other people that have similar interests, and you'll be able to start assembling people that you can use on your next project. That's what I would do. If your town is so small like me, where they don't have classes like that, well, that's going to be a completely different challenge, and that's something that I'm going to have to overcome, and I will definitely relay how I do those things in the future that will maybe help you as well. As far as the best camera under $200, I'm not exactly sure. This is something other people maybe can chime in on, but for me it has to have at least two things, even on a cheap camera. You have to be able to lock focus, and you have to be able to lock exposure. Focus locking is just where you can set focus on a certain object and then lock it so it stays there, so it doesn't stay on auto. Both these settings have to be manual. Exposure as well. If it's on auto exposure, it's going to be getting dark and getting bright all the time as the camera adjusts, but you should be able to lock that so it doesn't stay on auto and doesn't go all over the place. That's really important. But I'm not sure exactly what camera for under $200 is going to allow you to do that. Maybe a smartphone camera, that would be a good start. That's kind of under $200. If you buy your phone with a contract, you'd be able to do that. But if you're not looking for a cell phone camera, maybe others can chime in about what camera they could get for under $200, because off the top of my head, I don't know. All right, that's all the questions we had this week. If you have a question and you'd like to ask me, your best chance of having it read on the show is to send me an email at thefrugalfilmmaker@gmail.com. You can also comment below. You can also send me a message on Twitter at frugalfilmmaker. I should have another video done for you this Thursday, and then another Q&A on Monday. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.